Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome, not good morning. My name is Fola Alabi, your host on the Strategic Project Leader. Today, I'm actually joining you all the way from Kent in Bromley in London. And I've got a wonderful guest today, and we're going to be talking about all things transitioning. That's right. As you know, as a project manager, as a business leader, at some point in your career, you've had to think about the next move, the next thing. How are we able to transition? Today, we want to talk about how we can help the aspiring project managers make that move to becoming not just project managers, but even strategic project leaders. But it starts with strategy, starts with tools. On the Strategic Project Leader, we are always here empowering leaders like you to live your best life, to create the career and the life you've always craved, all leveraging strategic project management skills. That's right. Today we're talking about how to transition and land the role you've always wanted within the project management field. I'm going to be talking to a great leader today. Here's one that has actually piqued my fancy because of his dedication and his drive to help leaders and pivoters actually land project management roles. He has done this, not for too long, I say, because I've been in this rodeo for quite a long time, but within the last 7 years, my goodness, Logan has not just become a project manager himself, being a senior project manager, but also he's been helping other PMs move up and transition and land project management roles as well. Without any further ado, I want to bring on stage Logan Lanty. Logan, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
How great to see you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in good old Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We still got probably 3 inches of snow on the ground. No matter what happens, we can't get rid of it. We're hitting April 1st right now, and we're all tired of it.
I thought you were gonna say like April Fools, there's no snow anymore. I know. Living in Calgary, we got like almost like 6 foot of snow in front of my driveway.
Yep.
And when I get back to Canada, I'm like, goodness, I'm coming back to this. Although it's raining here in England, but it's still definitely way better than what we have over in North America. But for sure, what is North Dakota like? I've never been there.
So South Dakota is, it's called the Great Plains, very flat. If you get to, I'm on the southeast side of the state. If you go out to the west side of the state, you have the Black Hills and Mount Rushmore, which is very pretty. But out here, it's largest city in South Dakota, but really great place to raise a family and kids. I've lived here my whole life, and so I've really enjoyed it, other than the brutal winters, which is not specific to this one area, but definitely we get hit by it. So
I know, definitely great. We talk about change today anyway. So hopefully maybe you might be pivoting and probably moving to another country soon. You know, I'm not going to say anything. Never say never. But let me know in the comments where you're actually joining us from, because we definitely want to share. We want to give. It's going to be so exciting because we're going to be talking about really how to pivot, how to make that change and how to make that move. But I think we should actually get into this, Logan. When you think about transitioning and landing the next role that you definitely want, what would you say is the fundamental first step?
So I think for anybody that wants to make a pivot to project management, especially if you have never worked in it before, you've never had a formal project management title, I think it's really important for you to look at your past experience and your education and really determine, where is my applicable experience? Where do I find the projects that I've done? And if you don't know what that looks like, there are a ton of resources out there to gain some of that information. I suggest oftentimes to look at projectmanagement.com or pmi.org, because those areas have a ton of resources on the project lifecycle, and make sure that we know what a project is, so that we can identify our experience in those roles.
Fantastic. I think that's awesome because now I just want to bring on stage. We've got Leona Davis finally joining us. We call her the Project Maverick. Leona is going to be talking to us exactly about this. So she has built a business and a career in empowering professionals like a lot of us to actually live our best life while leveraging project management skills. So finally, Leona, how are you doing this morning?
I am great. Good morning, guys.
Fantastic. So Leona, where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually in a hotel in Philly right now.
Okay, I know I can see that you're a little bit flustered, but that's okay. You know, when we talk about project management, like as you said, you never plan for everything because things always go wrong. But you are here, and it's great to definitely have you. With the beauty about this now is that Logan has just introduced the concept around doing some research when it comes to starting a project management career. But when you think about that, Tim Leona, what would you say is the fundamental first step everyone who's thinking about a career in project management need to actually do from the get-go?
So I think the first step is to get clear on what you want. There's so many flavors of project management, and people assume that because I want to be a project manager or I want to be in project management, it requires me to be a project manager. But you can be a coordinator, you can be a scrum master. There's so many different flavors. So I think the first step is getting clear on what you want so you can accordingly to meet that milestone.
I think that's a fantastic point. The first step is understanding what you really want and getting into that because I talk about a particular framework that I have actually created, which I call the strap up. Within the strap up framework, first off, you have to do a self assessment. Everyone needs to understand what exactly do I really want? Because you may think about it six figures, that's great and that's awesome. However, are you really prepared for the task at hand?
Yeah.
Are you prepared for the work that actually comes with the title of project manager, of project coordinator? Have you got the skill set? Because a lot of the times we have actually managed projects across different capacities. But the key here is for you as a person, do you want to come back home miserable every day? Or do you want to be excited every day to say, yes, my bank account is actually great, but I'm excited to do this? And Logan is already smiling. What's a typical day like in the life of a PM? Can you just shed some light to that, Logan?
I mean, it doesn't look the same. It definitely doesn't. There's a lot of chaos. It really depends on the project that you're in, the timelines. There's a lot of factors to it. The project team you're working on, the availability of your sponsors. There's a lot that goes into it, but it is definitely a lot of meetings, a lot of coordinating, a lot of facilitating, note taking, documentation, and repository work. It can be very chaotic, and you can definitely have projects that may be risks. Again, I guess you're likely not working on just one project, so they're all in various states of the project lifecycle. And one project, a risk comes up, and now we got to drop everything and start firefighting. And so it can be very chaotic. And from a project management standpoint, I say this often, but you have all of the authority or all of the responsibility, but none of the authority. And so it sometimes it makes it difficult to lead effectively if you can't appropriately engage people. So it's but I love it. I can't, as much as I just threw out a bunch of stuff that made it sound like I hate it. I really do enjoy it, and I get a lot of value out of it. So
I know. I think let's try to break that down. We've spoken about a self assessment first. But like, think about what you currently can do as a person. But think about the fact that you're going into a profession where it's going to be kind of chaotic. Things are going to be ambiguous. Believe it or not, where you're going to have stakeholders who kind of say, I think I want a new software to do XYZ, whatever. They're like, what exactly does that mean, right? You're going to have to document this requirement. You may have a team of people like business analysts who can help you gather requirements and stuff. But think about a world where you're going in, you're like, I want to save everyone. But interesting, I probably haven't got a life jacket myself, right? And you're like, okay, what do I do now, right? You're like, you're kind of like scrambling. But a lot of the time, when you've got the skill, you're going to say, okay, now I have to build my life jacket as I try to save everyone. It's almost like survival mode. Is it something you're prepared for? And when you think about that and put it in perspective, you need to be one that can deal with complex situation as well. Because I know today we're talking about how to pivot, but I am one who wants to shed more light to the reality. I'm not going to paint a picture and say it's like it's all fancy, it's all rosy. But when I give you the tools and when we work together, you can actually be equipped to deal with the challenges that actually come with it. You're not going to say, guess what? I landed a 100K role and now I want to quit. That's not an option here, okay? You're going to be equipped. You're going to be ready to like go through the challenges that comes with it, and you're going to know what to do. Leona, you spoke about different flavors. I know we spoke about self-assessment. We spoke about having like different layers to what the job looks like. What would you think is actually critical that people need to think about when they want to create that change?
I think the biggest thing to think about, so understanding that there's more than one way to create change. I tell often go to the book, and we all know the PMP and what we were told to do, and we follow it, right? But organizations have their own flow and they have their own personality. We have to really, what do I need to do so that people will listen to me in the place that I am today, right? And then use those skill sets that we have to come up with flavor that makes sense for the organization. So to me, it's being cognitive of your surroundings and also understanding, which is usually from top down, right? And how do I essentially put a strategy in place to make sure that it's implementing accordingly and also effective for my delivery?
Fantastic. This is great. You see what I'm trying to do here, everyone listening? I haven't really told you the steps to actually pivot, but from what we already talking about, you can see that a lot of the steps of what Leona have said and Logan have said, you may already be doing all of this within your role. You may already be helping organizations kind of figure out, how do we create some form of change? How do we make things better? How can we look at what we currently do and make some improvement? I get a light bulb just actually went off. These are all of the pieces you're going to be putting on your resume soon, right? You're going to be explaining all of this great stuff that we're talking about, and you're going to put it to show that I have actually been managing projects in a shape or form. Because a lot of the times when I coach my clients, they're like, I haven't been a PM before, right? How do I tackle this? Where do I really start? But I'm like, let's break it down. You have been project managing because you have been creating a form of change. A project is what? A temporary endeavor that creates what? A unique outcome, a unique result, a unique service. You leverage resources. You have teams. Yes, you've actually had 2 or 3 people in your teams, right? Where you had to like speak to your leader. You had some budgets you had to deal with. That's right. All these were projects. So I'm just trying to like get you thinking differently to kind of say, okay, I have kind of done bits of all of this, but it's just that I never had that title. Because at the end of this podcast, you're going to be going away with steps you're going to be going to capture on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile to showcase your PM skill. So now over to Logan. You spoke about how the day of a PM actually looks. Now back to pivoting. When we think about that role of landing that job, they've done a self-assessment. Now they kind of know that I think I'm great at leading people. I'm great at supporting teams. I could track budgets. What next? What can they do next?
From there, you really teed it up with, you need to identify where you've done those projects before, because next is really preparing yourself to set up your resume, to start putting together the projects for an interview, start looking at the types of the experience that you have, and what industries do I want to start working in regards to project management. Do I want to work in tech because I have a tech background? Do I want to work in marketing because I have a marketing background or education? And really, so to find or figure out those projects and where you have that experience, I like to talk about the 5 areas that I know best as far as areas to leverage or opportunities. And that's building something, a process, a form, etc. Where in your past experience you have that improvement of something, a process, a form, some type of a deliverable, organizing something, whether it's a training, an event, a fundraiser, things of that nature. Develop something, a plan for a new product, develop a new tracking software, and then transitioning something, consolidating something, renovating something, moving from one process to a new one. And those are 5 areas within almost any job or any career field that you can find a temporary project where you improved or brought to fruition something that would qualify itself as a project. And so from there, you can really start pulling in that experience, tailoring it effectively, and adding it into that resume to start trying to get interviews, as well as ideally building upon it within that current career so that you can continue to build experience as you're going along.
This is really great here because you have just spoken about pulling and gathering information. I want everyone listening to think about this, even within your role before you even make that transition. How are you keeping track of all the great stuff you've been doing, your accomplishments? How have you been able to create change? Because when you sit down with your manager every time and they kind of say, I want that raise and I want more money or whatever, do you just go off and say, because I'm just great at my job? You need to be able to show and reference something. So even as you plan for this transition, you need to have the receipts and say, okay, yes, I sat down on a team with 3 people where we had to deliver maybe a renovation project within the office, or it was an office move, or it was maybe just an IT help desk thing because you probably never really managed a project. Keeping track and taking stock of where you have been able to create change is absolutely critical. You need to start, documenting that. I was part of a team. And as you're doing that, think about what was the outcome? How did things become better based on what we actually did? Because it's great to sit on a team and you say you actually created something. But how was that beneficial? Did that help your organization in any way? Did it move the needle for them? Did it help operations do something better? Or did the outcome of that project even create better team, high performance, more collaboration? Those are the pieces that you are going to be highlighting as well as you're applying this transition. That way, you're not just showcasing your project management experience, but you're also showcasing the fact that you are a value add. Because with everything, let me just share something pretty quickly. Think about dating, right? People are just going to laugh and say, when guys and women actually dating, the guys want the hottest girl on the block. Is that correct? I want to say a yes in the comments, right? Organizations want the same thing. I want to see the faces of my guests as I say this. The fact is there any hiring manager who wants to just hire like just anyone down the road? Hell no. Your hiring manager wants to hire the hottest, leader out there, the person who can actually deliver value. And how can you showcase this? It's all about demonstrable experience. The best way to do it is all about how can they see and know that when I bring Logan on board, I think Logan can actually help me to create something better. So think about it just like dating, right? This organization is just trying to get the best PM, and you have to show them that you are the best person. And how can you do that? Based on how you quantify the results you've created. Based on how you've helped influence the people around you. A lot of the times, it's not even about the fact that you also increase maybe productivity. You may just even be that person on the team that makes everyone excited. We spend the greatest part of our lives at work. How exactly do you love working with a douchebag at work? Not really. So how do you showcase that? We want great teams. So when you come in the scene, what happens? Do people get excited even when there's so much work? As you said, there's so much PMs have to do. Are you that person that says, just take it cheap? I'm gonna go get some Tim Hortons, right? And let's just relax a bit and let's do a work breakdown structure. That's probably what we need at times. Leona, I know you have courses as well when you teach people how to do this. Now they have showcased how they've created this change. What next do you think what can they add on as the next step as they transition into become PMs?
Yes, I want to step back because you made some good comments. I think you definitely want to be that person that organizations are looking for to propel, right? To pivot into something further. But I think what's often missing and what we don't talk about is understanding their business need, right? I tell my mentees to run yourself as you're a business, right? Companies are hiring you because they have a problem and you are there to solve it. And often I see mentees go into this transition and create this portfolio of what I've done and these transitional skills. And then they go in and source these positions and it's cookie cutter. It's very cookie cutter. I've done 3 things. Here's how I can help you. But you really need to stop and get an understanding of, what do you need, business? Like, why am I even in the room? What does that look like? And then complement those gaps accordingly to what they need, right? That's very important. That to be said, once you do get, and going back to your original question, once you do get there, right? And once you do have that transition in place, now it's all about staying there, right? Like, getting there is the easy part. It's about staying there and showing a long path of value. Remember, you're there to show value. If at any time you're not presenting value, you are not needed, right? So you should be coming in and getting an understanding, again, what does the organization need? Who are my people? How can I help? What is my potential plan? I typically, on day one, once I get into that position, my day one plan is never my last day plan. It just isn't, right? So you go and you get clear, get an initial plan, get a baseline in place, get an understanding of your key resources. Who are your people? Like, who can I lean on? Who knows what's going on in here? Who do I need to meet with day one, right? And then it goes back to that scenario of jumping off of the cliff and building the plane as you go, right?
That's right.
Right. So I got the wings that we need to cover. And that's essentially research and development as you move forward with building out what you're trying to meet from a scope perspective. So it's a lot going on, but it's doable, right?
No, 100%. It's a lot going on, as you said, but it's definitely doable. The key here, which is another point I want to highlight, is about the need. We just spoke about almost like dating, because I always want to make it relatable, right?
Yeah.
At the end of it is about, what need are you trying to meet? What exactly does the other person want that you can actually provide value for? Because projects actually initiated because there's actually a need. Like, when I sit across organizations and we create strategic plans, maybe for the next 5 years, and then we have a short-term plan for the next 12 months, we think about it and say, where do we want to position ourselves? Where are we going to? And then projects are actually broken enough to help drive that strategy. So that's the need. So how are you positioned every single time as a value add? Because at the end of the day, when you stop adding value, like when you're no longer attractive anymore, that's why you get laid off. But I'm not saying that great people who add value don't actually get laid off, but you want to become a person where people always want you around. Like, goodness, I need Logan there, because when Logan is here, we know that problem is actually going to be solved. When Leona's there, she's going to help us think strategically. You're going to be the name that gets called upon every single time, because they know that you have that value, you've got something. And how can you actually get that? I want to just dive into that. So projects is just the foundation, I tell people. Understanding the business is what takes you a step higher, because going to execute, it's okay. You can get on, you deliver on time, on budget, within scope or whatever. That's great. However, when you then understand the business, that's what strategic project leadership takes you to, where you then see, okay, I've been brought in to maybe manage an IT project. But now we know there's artificial intelligence coming in, right? You want to think, how is AI going to affect us within IT, for instance? What tools do we need to start thinking about? If you're trying to do just a basic upgrade, how can we start thinking about the other tools that are coming in that we need to integrate? You need to be asking those kind of questions. You need to sit in the meetings and speak to your IT director and say, how are we thinking about this? Are we thinking beyond just the next 6 months or the next 1 year? And then the man is going to say, or the lady's like, oh goodness, Leona needs to be on, on a different level. You need to start thinking beyond just the rudimentary pieces. Now, Logan, now we're thinking about value. We know we have to meet a need. We have an outlook of what we've actually done. What next? What can we do to not just transition, but keep in mind that we want to also keep the role? Over to you, Logan.
I think, Lorna hit it really hard on, you got to keep providing, and you said it as well, Fola, but you got to keep providing that value. You got to keep finding ways that you can contribute to the role, contribute to the strategy of your organization, continue to make sure that the projects that you're working on effectively promote change. How many projects do you work on that you do all the work, you pull them into the organization, you get them stood up, and then the project itself doesn't get adopted, or the groups that you've worked with don't actually start utilizing that new software, or it's wasted time and wasted energy and wasted money. Effective project management is driving your business forward and ensuring that people have the tools they need to do their jobs and to do them effectively. And so you as a project manager need to continue to keep that end state in mind and drive towards the metrics and the data that will support that. Yep, we're going to get really good adoption for this, and we're going to continue to push ourselves forward, push our organization forward, and stay on the forefront of whatever it is that you do in that industry that you work.
When you talk about that and value and everything that comes with that, it's just surreal, because a lot of the times we kind of feel that we maybe have kind of already done enough. And I want to tie this again back to all the quitting again and pivoting, and people kind of feel, okay, now I want a new role because I'm just tired of my old one. I'm like, I want to make more money or whatever that is. But again, tying value to all of this, you need to be that person every single time that really never throws in the towel, because with relationships, with careers, with everything, there's always going to be ups and downs. But the differentiating factor longer term are still people that are going to stick with it. I have always talked about things around the Me Project, where wherever it is, whatever it is you're actually doing as you putting together your portfolio, as you're delivering value, always focus on yourself. How can I keep making myself better? How can I become that best project manager, that best project leader? How can I be the best? Because no matter what happens, there are a lot of people who never even apply for roles. They get sought out, right? You need to get to a point where you just want to just keep learning. You want to embrace change, because you know that it's just like food. You know the way you drink water? Leona has been sipping a coffee all morning. The way you want it. I want you to crave for knowledge that way. I want you to crave and say, okay, what is new? What's trending now? So by the time you come together, it goes beyond just being a PM, but you need to be one that is totally equipped, like multifaceted, where there are different angles to you, where you can adopt change, you can drive strategy, you can fit into like different angles and different sectors. That's what I really want from people. And people say project management, I'm like, no, it's beyond that. It's about strategic project leadership, where you are not just driving project outcomes, but you're driving the organization. That's where the value actually comes. And so now when you think about your self-assessment now, you've thought about thinking about what you've actually achieved. You've thought about the need you have to meet. You've thought about that. I want to go into the plan. Leona, how can we now create a project plan? So I always tell people this is a project, right? This transition. What should be in that project plan for all of our leaders listening to us? Because a lot of people may already be in PM roles, but they just want to upgrade. It might be becoming a PMO manager next, or becoming a PMO director. What is that plan? Because it's almost similar, right? When you want to make that transition, what would be the next thing that has to be on that project plan, Leona?
So I always tell people, and people always struggle with project plans for some reason. I'm not sure. I guess I'm a pretty old school PM, because we did run projects without them or some form of plan. But that to be said, I always tell people to start from the top, right? Like, what are your top, all the milestones for now? And then how can I drill down further into those milestones and make them tasks? And then how do I know when things are supposed to take place? Should one happen before one and two happen together? Right? And so it requires the thinking and working with your team, which you should be already doing anyway, right? This is not you don't go in a room by yourself and create a project plan. It should be skin in the game from everyone that's going to be running these projects or be on the project. But I do tell my PMs to come in with some form of structure, right? Based on what the business needs are and based on what you understand the scope to be high level today, you should be able to outline at least a couple of items on a list. And that can be your starting point on your project plan. And then get in a room with your team and flush it out accordingly. So then we have something that makes sense and a starting point for baseline.
Good. So here you've kind of heard Leona talking about creating a normal project plan, right? So you're on a project now, you have to create a project plan. And now think about this when it comes to your transition into a new project management role. We said start at the top. The top of it, at the very top, when you think about a plan, is that role. Is it a PM role? Is it a project coordinator you want to get? Or is it a PMO director role? or PMO manager. What are the tasks that needs to go underneath it? Because we're going to break this down to the lowest possible task that's going to be done maybe in 8 hours or whatever. Do you need to identify, for instance, the buckets, like based on your self-assessment, trainings that you need to do? Do you need to like speak to even like leaders in the organization to understand what are the key blocks that feeds down from the very top that cascades to the task? Because once you understand the actual components that come into everything, you can break it down into tasks. So it starts with a self-assessment. I always say first, then you go off and understand the tactical research. What's the need? Based on the need now, you can identify the gaps that actually exist. So where's the gap in my experience? Is it a case that probably you've just been so tactical and not strategic? And does that mean you need a coach? Does that mean you need to go for a training? Does that mean you need to identify a program or a mastermind you need to go for? But you break all of this component down. And if, for instance, you've identified it has to even be going back to school, a lot of the time you might need to get another degree. That's okay. But now you know what it is, and you know, okay, for me to get that, I need to do what? Probably I need to go find all my transcripts from school. But create a plan. And you know that this is going to probably take you 12 months. But that way you have a clearer picture to know this is a gap that currently exists within my career. And these are the steps I need to take. So you are almost breaking it down to work packages, right? And then you know, now what's going to be next? It just means that I just need to get a team together, possibly, or maybe do it on my own. But this is actually clear. The goal here is to accelerate your career by landing a better role, and you take this same skill set into your day-to-day job, because that's what I love about project management. I use it at work, I use it in my business, I use it in my personal life. So Leona just gave you that framework of how you break down a project plan anyway. So just like this same one, you're going to think about that and go away after this podcast and say, what is going to be in my project plan for my career transition? What's a career plan that I need to put together? I want you to think about, based on the skills that you have, based on the need in the marketplace, and think about the gaps, then create a plan to actually breach that. And then you can come up with actionable steps that you need to take things forward. I'm going to have to get Logan back. I'm so excited. My Dakota guy. I'm just thinking about the snow and everything and all of those jobs. So making that move, right? When we now think about you've created our plan, it's time to execute. Execution is pretty much one of the hardest. You know what I mean, right? People kind of say, I want $1 million, I want all of this. But when the rubber hits the road is actually where you need to put in all the work. Logan, how can we execute right?
So as far as getting a position, getting a new PM job or moving up within, if you have a PM role, moving up within your organization or to a new organization, a higher role, I highlight a lot in my content about networking is a huge part of this, right? The people aspect of this is huge. And a lot of people maybe don't focus on that aspect of it, but having people, developing a network, utilizing the people around you, whether that's in your community, on LinkedIn, utilizing the network that you have to help promote you, to help build you up, to help push your skills out to other people. It has this kind of spider web effect, right? Where you as one voice can only reach so many people, but having a dedicated network that can help you get that out. You've already shown, you've already developed your plan. I have this, I know what I need to do. Now I need to be able to get it out and get people to see me so that I can make this happen. That's where it starts, or at least that's the tactic that I would utilize to really execute towards that next step. These are the skills I have. Here's my project portfolio. This is what I've done. This is the value I can provide. Continue to highlight value add. But my network helped me get this. And if you do that, that is the easiest way, in my opinion, to get yourself that opportunity that you're looking for.
I think we had that. I think the sound just played. It's time for Project Lifestyle. Thank you so much, Logan. This is the time where we just talk about this and now we apply this even in our personal life. Today we've been talking about how to pivot, how to create change. And when you think about this, it applies in so many ways. A lot of us experiencing something in our lives, in our careers. How can we successfully execute and execute right? We have kind of spoken about all of this today already, but I want to give you 5 steps that you're going to take away today and think about this as it applies to project lifestyle. When you're thinking about any form of change, just like transitioning to a new career, you need to define the end goal. When we think about the greatest of all time, Stephen Covey, that talks about starting with the end in mind, we've touched on that. Define the end goal. What exactly do you want? Beyond a career, beyond just making more money, what exactly do you really want out of life? Start and define the end goal. Take steps to understand, what do I really want to achieve? Be very specific. We talk about writing out SMART goals, right? Make sure it's measurable, it's specific, it's time bound, all this fancy stuff. The next step is identify the changes that I really needed. What are the changes? What changes do I really need to make? Think about that. And then develop a plan. We've kind of talked about it already. But when we're doing that, I want you to think about a different piece where you communicate with others. Because Logan spoke about something where we want to leverage our network. In everything that we do, no one is actually an island. When we're trying to create change, it's absolutely critical that you also try and leverage the skills of other people as well. Communicate the ideas you have with others, but be very selective. It could be a coach, it could be a mentor, but let someone know to say, I'm trying to create something different in my life or something. I kind of need your help. Can you help me? I know Leona coaches people. I know Logan does that as well. Select people and say, I have got this goal. How do I get there? Because the people that are around you are actually pivotal to helping you achieve the goals that you want. Because when you get people in your ears kind of telling you that you cannot do anything, it kind of sinks in after a while. The next step I want you, above everything, is to take action. Take action because nothing happens except you actually execute. We could have these great ideas. You could listen to seminars. You could go to workshops. You could pay a coach. You could do everything. You could get another degree. But where the rubber hits the road and where the results happen, I remember I did a post just a couple of days ago. It's in execution.
Yeah.
That's where you take all of the ideas and you say, today I'm going to start. I'm going to get my notebook. I love that Carissa, she says she's got a notebook. I'm going to write it. I'm going to take action because I want to see it in the comments. What steps are you going to be taking today? And you're going to be leveraging what Logan said as to having a journal where you're going to be capturing what you've actually achieved. And you're going to think about what Leona has said when she talks about think about the need of the organization. Think about the need in your life and see, how can I be that person that becomes a value add? Think about how you can position yourself and become that person that becomes the go-to. And you might just have some blind spots that you may not even realize that you have. You're going to do a 360 degree and say, can someone give me some feedback here? Where exactly do you think I could actually do better? Because no one is perfect. We're all on a journey. And that's the good news. We were not here where we were like 10 years ago. We've had to learn. But what I want to challenge you to today, all of you, is you do not want us to learn from your mistakes. People are going to say, why not? I want to say, start from experience. Isn't it better to start from Logan? He's done this for 7 years. Leona's done this for decades. I know. I have been been doing this for over 2 decades now as well. Rather than having to repeat the mistakes of others, you can just start from experience. It's just been so great today. Logan, what have you got to say? What are your final thoughts? I can't believe that it's almost 45 minutes already. There's so much we have to share. I know we have to definitely do this again, but what would be your final words for everyone today?
I mean, I think if this is something that you desire to do, you likely have everything you need to go and do it. It's going to take time. And I think that it's important for you to level set that early, that, yeah, it's probably going to take me a year or 2 years or, potentially 3 years. For me personally, I had project management experience, gained my PMP in 2018, and I didn't get my first, so had a minimum of 3 years of experience and didn't gain my first real formal project management role for another 2 years. It takes time, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be in it for the long run, but know that you have valuable experience, and it likely meets a lot of that need for project management. So make sure that you find it and ID it and break it down and figure out the project planning, all of the needs for what a project is and how to manage a project, and continue to build that experience even as you're working towards this opportunity. You can do it and you have it. It's just time to really get down and do what's been outlined here, and really outline your plan and go for it.
Fantastic. Leona, I know you in the hotel just living the best life, but a lot of people want to know, right? You've taken the steps, you've had to do so many things. What will be your final words for people listening who want to make that transition? What were the steps you have actually learned from over the years that people can leverage in action today?
So I think Logan hit it on the nail. One thing I will say is, trust the process, right? Like, trust the process. Biggest thing I learned, and even in the last 10 years, like, I was a heavy introvert. So like getting to know people, getting around people and letting them know what I do, and marketing myself as that person you want to know, it was a struggle for me, right? So figuring out what made sense and what works for me to get to my end result is what I've learned, what I will present to you today as your next steps, right? Though we're giving you these steps, though we're laying them out for you, right? Get clear on what's your end result. Like, what do you want to do, right? Where do you want to be? Do the research. Make sure it's a comfortable position for not just business, but for yourself as well. And again, I'll say, trust the process, and always think beyond the task.
Think beyond the task. Trust the process. Do the work. The fact is, I was able to pivot. I tell people I did HR and customer service, and I made that move, and I landed my first project management role 19 years ago. That's right, for the Department for Transport. But there were steps I had to take. I had to take action. I had to put in the work. For me, I didn't even have my PMP or my Prince 2 at that stage. I was just reading for my Prince 2 designation at the time, and I got my designation about a couple of months after I got the job. But I was prepared. I remember sitting at the interview with, these people. I'm like, oh my goodness, can I even go through this? Because it was one of the toughest. You could just imagine this. Just listen to this before I go for a moment. Imagine just a young girl who's had this dream to land a PM role. And I get into an interview, and believe it or not, I had 10 people on the panel. 10 people? I'm like, you know what I mean? I just dropped my bag and I just asked. I know Logan I want to see his face. I said, can I have a glass of water, please? You know when you kind of know that you're never going to get the job, right? I'm like, oh, let's just have fun, right? I just relaxed, asked for a glass of water. And I was like, they were talking about the project. It was like a major transformation for the Department for Transport in London. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But believe it or not, all the hard work that I had actually been loading the cloud and reading and preparing, I never knew that it was going to show up at that point. I was asking questions about how does this tie back to the government strategy? How was I doing this? Logan and Leona, do you know that was the fastest job I ever got? Before I got out of that place at the train station at Charing Cross, I got a call to say, where can I start that job? I'm telling you. I was like, that's not possible. But the key here is I had done that assessment. I had prepared. But even then, I thought I wasn't ready, because a lot of the time we feel that you're not ready yet, right? You feel that there's still more you have to do. Preparation is the one that trumps all the imposter syndrome and it trumps everything. Show up, do the hard work. The late night, burn the midnight candle, redo those research, connect with people, network. It is definitely possible. You can actually do this as long as you're ready to put in the work. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who was actually joined. Oh my goodness. I've got Leisha, Tarika. The names go on. Joanne. It's Solar Train, Arika, Sherry. It's Olakon, Jeremiah, Mimi. It's the names. It just goes on. We had Eugene Gabe. I want to say thank you so much. And without any further ado, I want people to know, Logan, first, how can they connect with you?
The easiest place to find me is LinkedIn. I post, currently I post daily. A lot of tips are around pivoting to project management, trying to help people identify the ways that they can. Feel free to look me up on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And Leona, how can people find you? Lona.
The easiest way to find me is to go to lornadavis.com and reach out and put your information in there. Also, LinkedIn is a good way to connect with me. Instagram, Twitter, we're in all of the social media networks, and we specialize in creating you into the go-to project manager. So
Fantastic. That's what it is. You have to network, you have to create that, because I always tell each and every one of you that you are your life's project manager. And without a doubt, you are the best product you can actually ever work on. That's it. Beyond the six-figure salary, beyond getting that leadership role, it's about creating the life you've always wanted. Project management skills are one you can leverage in your career, in your business, and in your life. Take the steps today and create that life that you never need a vacation from. You know what I mean? Like every day I'm on vacation. I'm just in London. I'm gonna be in the States in a couple of days. A life you don't need a vacation from. But I want you to know that you've got this. Let me know in the comments that one action you're going to be taking away from today's episode. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's actually joined us, to put in the comments. I'm going to try to make sure that I engage and I send feedback as well to each and every one of you. I want to say thank you, but I want you to know, same time next week, we are going to be live again on the Strategic Project Leader podcast. And I have a great leader. Yes, Chris Kraft. He has actually written, and his project management sessions has actually been listened to and actually gotten through to millions and millions of people. We're going to be unpacking a critical way to deal with your project schedule and how to manage your critical path. He's done this over and over. I want to say thank you once again to Logan and to Leona Davis for coming here and being our awesome guest today. I'm just sending all the love out to each and every one of you. And without a doubt, remember, leverage project management and create the best life you've always wanted. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.